Salama Abada and OCR everyone. Today's topic is going to be on the edgy side, so I am going to be very conscious of what I speak on in regards of this topic because like I stated within my entertainment episode, there are certain things that I will not say, especially knowing I'm not going to be protected by the public. So why take that risk when it's not a secured risk to take? So, carrying on. Today's episode is going to be about the dark side of DNA. Now, for those who don't know, DNA is the, not a, it is the main molecule in regards of genetic information being transmutable. I had stated a while back on YouTube, and this was around the pandemic, that's what I call it. It's known to y'all as the pandemic. One of my favorite artists did an interview with a known doctor, got his degree and everything. And one of my favorite artists was asking him a question, and he was beating around the bush like per usual. Shout out to Rizza Islam because he be exposing it all. He does not play. Now, like I was saying, in regards to that topic, like he was not joking around. He was on their necks. Now, like I was saying, I saw an interview, and I'm not going to say their name, obviously, for obvious reasons, rather. And I don't want to sound repetitive, so I'm going to leave it at that. So I get to commenting on that particular post on YouTube, and I stated that DNA can be changed and provided resources. I just don't say nothing and don't provide resources. And no, the resources is not Google. Google is a search bar engine, okay? That means click on the links, examine the information within those links. That doesn't mean you look at the first thing that pops up and say, wow, that's the truth. Like, oh my goodness, I swear, Google is a lot of people guide. Like, a lot of people rush Google. Oh my goodness. There be so much information on it that needs to be fact checked. It's not even funny. Even when you click the links, you still have to fact check. You still have to make sure that's the correct information. That's why I do not rely on Google. Okay? Like, it's misinformation, it's and mixed information, all in between. And that's the endangerment of not only social media, but the internet as a whole. Is there's so much deception on there. You have to learn how to use your discernment and to know what's false, what ain't. There's heavy, strong delusion on there, especially when it comes to topics like DNA. And the reason why it's been on my mind lately to speak on it because it does affect the household. It does, let me just say home. It does affect the home. That plays a big part in generational curses. It's like you can't talk about generational curses when you don't know where the curse begun, what gateway was open within the DNA system for that to even happen. You shouldn't sleep with everybody. You shouldn't just have babies by any and everybody. That can mess up your DNA. Like, this is a real topic. And I'm going to touch on the surface a bit. I'm not going to be completely beating around the bush about it. I am going to say enough that sparks an eyebrow at least. Like, it's something to care about. A lot of people only care about the food aspect, the nutrition aspect of what they eat. That's not the only thing that you can put in your body or around your body. Like, a lot of people focus on like I said, the food aspect. And there's nothing wrong with that. oh, I eat better than everybody, that makes me holier than thou. That is to some. Not everyone talk like that, function like that, not at all. Here's the thing. You have pollution in the air. You have to fight against that too, because that also can get in your body. Just not nutrition, just not food. Um, Even to vegans out there, you have to be careful of what you're consuming when it comes to the green, when it comes to all that, because there's chemicals. Like I said, there's pollution in the air is the biggest issue that we have to fight against any and every day. That's why it's important to, how can I put this? This is why it's important to detox. You have to detox every chance you get, because if you do not detox, expect for your DNA to be altered, to be dysfunctioned in a lot of ways. Your DNA is very vulnerable. It's very, I wouldn't say sensitive. It's very alert if you allow it to be. If you weren't born in a situation where you have to reinstruct your DNA, because in certain cases you have to do that too. And some of the hints that I was given, you have to be careful who you mate with. You have to be careful who you sleep with overall, because you don't have to have a baby by someone in order for your DNA to be altered. Like, have you ever known someone to sleep with someone and all of a sudden their skin cells, they start to look pale in the face? You weren't supposed to sleep with that individual. You don't know what their genetic gene does to yours. You don't know if you have allergic reaction to that or not until you find out. Certain characteristics start to change. Now you're like, wait, what's going on here? DNA is deep, okay? That's something that no one should just overlook and play around with. And the reason why I don't personally speak on the in depths of it is because those who did are no longer here. So there has to be another approach, another way around it. Because unfortunately, you shouldn't have to lose your life just to speak truth into someone else's life. That is unfair to the truth seekers, to the truth tellers, and just those that provide healing within their truth. It's unfair, and something has to be done about it. So even if I have to, let's say, speak in riddles, somebody gonna catch my drift. Somebody gonna say, okay, let me check and do my own due diligence in regards of this. Oh, look at the generational pattern within my bloodline, and wow, okay, this explains a lot. Because the information varies. It depends on who experiencing what from what angle. It's very detailed, it's very calculated. And if you say certain things a certain way, you are painted a different way. Now the narrative have been switched, just like the DNA. it's it's a mess that has to be cleaned up. It truly has to. I personally got tired of wondering why certain things a certain way until I started looking more into DNA. And I didn't start looking more into DNA until I took a science class in college and was like, wow, I wonder, does this apply to DNA? Next thing you know, my professor mentioned something about DNA. So I went down from the rabbit hole from there and was amazed about the information that I found. Speaking of a lot of unfortunates, there are certain things that I cannot post on social media. However, there are certain things that I will in regards of this topic, because this is not something that should be pushed away, that should be thrown under the rug. It's something that should be analyzed. It's something that should be addressed without anyone feeling some type of way, without being oppressed. You shouldn't suppress knowledge that can help. It plays um, it plays a deep role into mental health as well. Um, it can either go within the terminology of race, racism to be precise. I always say that racism is a mental illness, and mental illness is a genetic malfunction. I'm going to say that again. Racism is a mental illness. Mental illness is a genetic malfunction. And I'm gonna leave it at that. And then I be hearing people speak on racism to a degree of only one can be racist and woo woo woo. If only y'all knew how that can be intertwined into DNA. Like you have Anunnaki, look that up. That's a real thing. Then you have these conversations about extraterrestrial beings. Look that up. There was some things mentioned in the Bible, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And then there's other books, and I'm like, why nobody talks about this stuff? And even if someone does talk about it, it's not been talked about enough. And then when I looked up the reason why, it's like, oh, some of the people has been offed. Some of the people, and if you don't know what offed mean, like they are no longer here. Farewell. Like it's it's scary when you have information that can help everybody. Yet there's somebodies that feel some type of way because they benefit off a lack of information. They benefit off of hurting the collective. And I used to blame the elites for that. But now, as I dig deep, I realize that the collective has been so deeply rooted within their programming that they are willing to defend the offense. And it's like, what? That's why I do not hang with certain people. I don't care what nobody say. It ain't that deep. It is that deep. When you take life as a joke, you become the joke within the life you perceive it as. It's it's a disgrace to see how many just look at it, and when I say it, I'm talking about life, as something that shouldn't be taken serious. And then they look at it like, if you take it serious, then how can you find joy? Comedians found the balance, learn from them. If I can learn from comedians, so can you. There are so many comedians that are truth tellers and entertaining all in one. For example, Cat Williams. I could say a lot more about him, but I'm gonna leave it at that. Because that's a double-edged sword right there. Now, I don't want to drift away from DNA. It can show you some form of structure within that in genetic information and genetic makeup, because who did that characteristic come from, genetically speaking? So you have to look into the blood. That's where the bloodline come in at, which, and then you have certain terms that it's a lot of terms that intertwine with the structure of DNA and how it can be altered and how it can become a malfunction. Just like you shouldn't mix oil with water, because oil will always be at the top. You shouldn't be mixing DNA with just any and every living organ, because any and every, a lot of organs have their own custom. And to mix that, dysfunctionalize that organic structure, many do not care about it because many look at it as, what's the term I can use? Illusion of inclusion. Just like you shouldn't, and I'm not going to give out the names in particular. This is certain stuff you have to look up on your own. So that way when you can find out, you disagree, you can get mad amongst yourself and not me. Like there are certain things you shouldn't mix with. It's beyond people. Like it's certain things you shouldn't put in your body just depending on your blood type. Your blood type is intertwined to your DNA. It's like if you take things lightly, you become the damn light, which eventually burns itself out. And gonna forever talk about this topic just in different forms, different ways, different methods, different expressions of it. Because this is something that has been heavy, heavily on my heart. It has been tumultuous in certain aspects. And the strongest effect that it had on me, the dark side of DNA, that is the genetic malfunction that I've experienced within my own bloodline. And there's something deeper than the bloodline that's called the Adama lineage, which I will explain another day, another time. I'm learning continuously. Don't put a time frame on it. Just go with the flow. Speak what's on your mind when it presents itself. And that's what I shall do. Now back to the genetic bloodline. There are certain things that irks my soul so bad, and I used to always wonder, why is it like this? Why I feel cursed? I always feel out of place. I always feel like I didn't belong to a certain bloodline. I'm like, well, why? Why was I born? Why was I put on this earth? Then it's like a curse, which it coming to find out it was, and it has been for quite some time. There was some hijacking that happened too. Then I'm looking at certain pictures, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this explains too. Like it's a mess. Now, one thing I can say, with every problem comes a solution. So I don't want to keep telling you about the dark and not provide you the light with it as well. I am of duality, so it is part of my mission to give a solution to a problem. When you do face genetic malfunction and DNA rewiring and hijacking within the DNA and so forth, the solution is to detox, to cleanse yourself, and to restructure, reprogram yourself. A lot of things start with the mind. I wouldn't say everything. After finding out what other aspects and molecules and parts mean and whatever. Like, I'm not a scientist, however, I'm learning a few things about it well enough to know that one part is not the all. One is not the be all. Okay? There's so much more to learn about. I'm a forever student. Okay? I'm forever learning. What I know today may expand within the next hour. As soon as I'm not in this episode, some more gems might drop. And then I have to write it down and then spew it back to y'all. But I have to make sure that I process it correctly, because I don't want to be misguiding, misusing, and taken advantage of. I want to make sure everything is done with grace, done with pure intent. That way, karma can be good to me as I intended to be good to it. Preach, preacher. Now, like I was stating, one of there's one of many solutions. Um, I find information an important key of me rewiring and me reconstructing my DNA. My DNA. I'm very conscious of what I'm around, who I'm around, and just not only what I eat, but what I partake in. Um, Whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, some individuals are set to attack certain chemicals within the body, which alerts the DNA. So that is something within itself. I'm like, wow, that's genetic. What is it called? Genetic warfare. That is that's a topic within itself, because it's like, how dare you? People can feel when they're doing wrong. Not everyone, unfortunately. Um, some can become aware through other aspects. It doesn't have to be through a feeling. There's five senses, six if you know, if you know. And it's mind blowing to a degree, because it's like, wow, there are really, like, you're fighting more than just with the flesh. There's some evil. Just because somebody have a flesh like you do doesn't make them you. Let me say that again, because I don't think y'all heard me. Just because someone have flesh like you, that does not make them you. There are some there aliens being on this planet. Y'all be looking at the sky and waiting for UFO. First of all, UFOs is if you have a vessel, you can make a UFO. Aliens and alienated things can be created through the DNA. I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm not gonna dive deeper into that because, like I said, who gonna save me besides the Almighty? And I listen to Aliyah. Aliyah guides my steps. I'm not gonna leave that to the collective. I'm not gonna, cause some of y'all, not all, mm-mm, especially the ones that be like, I got my own problems. I wouldn't come to you anyway, because clearly I see you don't solve your own problems, so why would I come to you about mine? And especially in regards to the DNA. Like, mm-mm. So I'm gonna leave that particular part be. I'm not gonna dive deep into that. Just know that if you can mess up somebody's DNA, you can mess up generations. I'm talking generations. That's what caused the generational curses. It's like a scary movie. Matter of fact, I'm gonna look into that. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna dive way deeper than what I have, cause when I say certain things should be addressed, it should be. And let's not talk about, cause I did mention. No, let's talk about it briefly. Like I stated, it can affect your mental health as well. Like a lot of mental conditions doesn't come out of nowhere. You have chemicals being used as a weapon. You have certain actions that affects the body and it goes into the brain cells and the brain cells is programming all that and sending it to the DNA. Everything is interconnected, whether you like it or not. Now, here comes the problem with the interconnection. When the interconnection is wired in certain degrees, in certain areas, in certain positions that it shouldn't be wired in, then expect fire, untangible fire that can eventually explode like a nuclear bomb. And like I keep stating, all this can be unwired when you become conscious enough, when you do the research, when you ask certain questions, when you look into certain things. Lead with your heart, your mind, your body, your soul, your gut, however you want to put it. Lead with that. Um, Unfortunately, everyone cannot be led. That's why many rather be followers. Religion is the proof of that. And let's not talk about how DNA was targeted in order to get a lot of individuals suited and booted in that direction as well. See, it intertwines, it plays a major role into a lot of decision making, into a lot of behavior of conduct, matter of conduct, thought process, creativity. It can affect both the left and the right brain. It's like I said, for me, it was tumultuous for me to learn about the dark side of DNA for myself. Like the things that I've been facing, being put up with, it's enough to black out. It's enough to go psycho. It's enough to lose any sanity that I have within me. It is through the grace of Aliyah that I remain functionable enough to fight against any and everything that can target and try to destroy not only my DNA, the sanity that I carry within it. It is through the grace of Yah. I am a miracle child because I have not done this alone. I had no guidance. I had no one to pass down certain information to me. Information is more than power. Information is a structure. And this structure is intertwined with DNA. It's the acid. Many don't pay attention to it, and then you got drugs that people take. And I ain't here to tell people what to do and what not to do. I'm just here to spread awareness to a certain degree. Because my awareness is not going to cost me my life because the collective want to fight against the truth. I am the glitch within the matrix. Ain't no code switching in me. So, like I was stating, um, it can be altered. It's an attack. And the acid within the drugs, certain drugs can change your DNA. And then some people be like, oh, I don't know what happened that night. That's not a good thing. If you're taking anything that cause you to lose your memory, which is also tied to your DNA, that ain't good for you. And I don't tell people that in person. I don't talk to people. I don't tell people what they should and should not do. All I can do is be an example of what works and not be an example of what don't work. Like, for example, cigarettes. I hate the smell of cigarettes. I don't know what it is. It does something to my brain cells. It makes me angry. I hate the smell. It's the one of the worst smells I have ever smelled in my life. A lot of people smoke cigarettes. Cigarettes can clearly cause cancer. Why they still smoke it? There's a DNA malfunction going on, and that alters your dopamine. Now, I would love to go deep and say why the government even allowed that mess to begin with, or why the federal aspect of it all. But see, then I be talking out of my protection. Then I be talking in a way where many will fight against the truth because they rather be comfortable in the lies. I'm not doing that. I'm not going out like that. One thing I will say is I don't mind being an example of what not to do, what not to tolerate, and what not to be tricked in. I will not be tricked. I will not be a guinea pig. And I don't be around like that. Call me bougie, call me stuck up. I call myself conscious enough to not damage myself in the ways where those that may be surrounding me damage themselves. I'm not going to sit around and entertain that. I'm not. I lost people that was near to me to certain things. And the fact that it's still being on the market, it's still being sold, that let you know how the elites feel about you. And it also lets you know how you feel about you. Just because the world don't care about, well, the elites within the world don't care about you, that don't mean you have to not care about yourself. You don't need validation from anyone else. You are the validation. I can say it all day long, but if you don't take that in and apply that to your daily life, then what good use of spewing my words out to you? Words are like a boomerang, y'all. So when I give out advice and it doesn't hit anyone, at least it'll come back to me tenfold because I apply it to my life. So nothing will go unnoticed. Nothing will go to waste. No matter who tried to attack the DNA. No matter who. This is something that I'm passionate about. So when y'all start hearing me or seeing me using certain scientific terminology, just know your girl is on the deep end. Your girl has dived deeper. And like I said, I'm only going to present it to the public to a certain degree. One thing I like about Dan Calloway is he was put here to just make you think. Now, I don't use that terminology, just the name of his slogan. I'm just here to make you think. Because in my perspective, thinking minds lead to sinking ships. In his case, not necessarily. His ship is very sealed, very secured. His information is valuable, okay? Mm-hmm. He talks about genetic warfare, and he talks about a whole lot of other things as well. And I'm going to be posting and sharing other individual stuff because I'm not the only one that know a little bit of something. So be paying attention on my social medias, which is all my social media platforms is Creeyeh, Creeyeh. I also go by Creekivati. Many don't know how to pronounce it. Just call me Cree. Some people don't even know how to pronounce my first name. So, like I said, Cree is simple. You can call me that. But yeah, before I conclude, let me make sure that I'm talking about everything that I wanted to talk about within this particular episode. Because I try to go no longer than 30 minutes when it's just me. Now, when it's somebody else that is co hosting with me, it may be an hour. um, and I'm not going no less than 20. No less than 20, no more than within the 30 range within my episodes. I know a lot of attention spans is not that strong. DNA. You'd be surprised how much, like I said, everything is intertwined. DNA is more than taking a DNA test and seeing if you're the pappy or not. Like, let's talk about how the two strings of DNA, it's the mothers and the fathers combined together. That's why certain children look like their mother, some children look like their father, or in certain aspects, some children look like both. Both carry DNA, just not men. Within the dynasty and the structure of family, feminist souls held the power back in the day. Children used to have the mother last name, not the father's. And if you want to go deeper than that, beforehand, when it was just feminist souls, the children had the mother and father last name because someone obviously knew the relationship between both and the relationship between two DNA structures coming together and if they are aligned or not. So that's some more juice for you. It amazes me how much information is out there, and it also um, caused me to be aware too because there's so much information that's being played with, especially with AI. AI, there's pros and cons to everything. I see the light and I see the darkness. Like I said, I am of duality. And that plays a part within my making, within my genetic makeup as well. DNA. It's my fascination's gonna take me far. I got some Pisces energy in me. I got all the zodiac signs within me. That can explain DNA as well. See what I mean? You know what? I'm gonna conclude it on this because now I feel like I'm gonna talk more and more and more. So on that note, which I will, I'm just gonna break it down into different segments. So once again, until next time, Arigayudi and Vorada Kadish.